Hello and welcome to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Ranok and the human left the village to go to Strandbard. And along the way, the human and Ranok had a little talk where the human confessed that he believes that he is not from this world, that is to say, not from this Earth, and that he is far beyond the world. And, yeah. So Ranok responded to that by being a little bit dismissive and saying that his memory is probably all wonky and that, as soon as he gets to Strandbard or to wherever it is that he is, that he'll get his memory back and whatnot. And we were all theorizing that perhaps Ranok might end up trying to leave the human and Strandbard because, that might be the whole plan all along that he and his father, I guess, came up with in order to not have any things come up when the howl goes on, where all the wolves have to gather and talk about going to war with the neighboring tribe, or possibly tribes, multiple. But yeah. So well, let's see what happens in this second part of chapter 8. The following morning greets me with an oddly excited Ranok hunching over me. He's already in full gear, with a short bow pulled over his shoulder, but all I can think about is how cold it has gotten. It's a good thing we moved inside once the fire went out, otherwise I'd be stiff as a board. The wolf keeps smirking shyly, and his tail cannot stay still for even a moment. I'm rubbing my eyes, still very much in Nyx's grip, when he suddenly pulls off my covers. Yeah. I squeal as the chilly air immediately triggers goosebumps across my arms and legs. Dickhead. Come on, you slept long enough. You left me to freeze. Oh, I think I've kept you warm enough. He bumps my shoulder, and I laugh involuntarily. You seem oddly cheery. I mumble, rubbing myself all over to muster some heat. Why wouldn't I be? We have a few days to ourselves. I'm gonna make good use of that time. Why don't I find that reassuring? Come on, Moondrop. Let's get going. The wolf pokes my knees and disappears behind the canvas of our tent. I take a deep sigh and shake my head in amusement. Ever since he got back, he's been infectiously overexcited about even the simplest of things. I guess that's what a near brush with death does to a person. Normally, I wouldn't mind that, but I hoped we could spend some quality time, and by that, I mean cuddles. It's pretty apparent that he does not enjoy the idea of a lazy day, so I might as well humor him. I pull up the dress and unfurl it, inspecting for any potential blemishes. It looks like it's faring well. I'm not exactly keen on having it on this trip, but then again, it does make me look less like an abductee. Parading around with just a loincloth would definitely raise some brows, especially with how prejudiced tigers supposedly are. Wolves have enough of a shitty reputation. I don't want to perpetuate it by looking like an urchin from one of Dickens' novels. I quickly dress up and take an idle stretch as I step outside, slowly approaching Ranok, who arranges a bundle of arrows. I blink as he passes them to me. We're going hunting. There's a clear note of glee in his voice which makes me smile, and despite being slightly taken aback by it, I decide to go along with the proposition. As you say, Fluff. I shrug and the wolf smirks at me. His tail takes another joyful swing before he strides off into the greenery. In truth, I cannot wait to explore the forest some more, and before I know it, I'm walking beside him through the woods. Despite some discomfort, the morning stroll feels quite nice. It definitely brings life into my otherwise sleepy and exhausted body. Perhaps it wouldn't be my choice of leisure considering the amount of walking we've done so far, but at least our stride is much more relaxed. Every few paces, we stop as Ranok crouches down, inspects marks on the ground, checks shrubs, and sniffs the air. I watch, mesmerized, as the tip of his nose twitches and his nostrils expand with each deep inhale. His eyes are closed shut, and it's clear he's frozen in focus, with only ears readjusting themselves in different directions. I must admit, watching him on the prowl like this is impressive, almost exhilarating to a point, but there is also the feeling of unease. As I look towards the thicket, only now does it dawn on me that this is not just a walk in the woods. We're stalking something to eventually kill it, and I frown at that realization. I don't know. This feels wrong. What does? He asks absent-mindedly, still very much focused on the bushes ahead of us. Hunting. Why is that? The wolf looks at me as he raises from the ground. We have provisions. There's really no need to go out and kill. We only have dry biscuits and jerky. After 2 more days, you'll get pretty tired of both. So, we're just killing another being to spice up our menu? Doesn't seem right or natural. Ronok scoffs in amusement, getting us back on the move. Not natural? Where do you get those ideas from? There's nothing more natural than a hunt. We hunt just as our ancestors did. Even feral wolves hunt. I guess it might be true for you, but to me, it just seems cruel, is all I'm saying. I push away a stray branch of a young tree as we push deeper into the thicket. Why kill if you can grow your own food? I didn't see you protesting at the dinner table. The wolf smirks. You were just as eager to devour meat as you were to eat fruit and veg. I know, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, I suppose. I frown, rubbing my arms uncomfortably. Still, eating meat is one thing, but killing to obtain it? Even if we would want to just eat crops, which we don't, there isn't enough open land in our territory to farm upon. And we would never clear a single tree to create space for another pumpkin patch. He snores at the absurdity of such a suggestion. This forest is our inheritance, and we do everything to protect it. Including population control. Don't feral wolves do that on their own already? Have you seen any? Ronok gives me a coy look, gesturing towards the forest with an open paw. Coming face to face with the feralkin is almost as likely as seeing the Great Spirit in the flesh. What about the rabbit we had for dinner? Rabbits are vermin, no offense to Trist's feralkin. They breed like crazy, thus the high numbers. He explains matter-of-factly. But any other animal that has normal breeding cycles is a rare sight indeed. Why is that? There's very few of them in the wild. He shrugs. Did something happen to them? Maybe. The wolf concedes indifferently. The tigers claim that the missing feralkin became us a long time ago, after the doom of your species. Skyfall, they call it. Skyfall? I try not to sound overly sarcastic. A great magical disaster that broke the very skies themselves, causing them to fall crashing down upon the world below. He pantomimed in an epic manner, clearly making light of the subject. In the aftermath, we, the beast folk, emerged from the wilds. Or at least that's how the Tigiri scholars explain why populations of feralkin are out of balance. But how would that work? You mean, like, evolution? The wolf stops and regards me expectantly, clearly not understanding the word. Is that another snippet of your forbidden knowledge? He teases. It seems you did study a tiger on after all. No, definitely not. I brush him off with a playful scoff. I just remember that I've heard a similar theory about the origin of mankind, that we evolved from monkeys. Monkeys? He nearly laughs out loud. Not that I've ever seen an actual monkey, but they're meant to be quite hairy and agile. No? 2 things you are definitely not. As he points it out, I give a subtle chuckle myself. Theories are just that, theories. I personally don't believe any of this nonsense. Freyfall, Skyfall, Fall of Mankind seems like a bad time to be. Everyone and everything were busy falling all over the damn place. Real original naming convention. You can't be that dismissive. Surely they're basing it on something. I respond, quite amused at his clear dislike for anything relating to Tigeround. I can and I am. It's called critical thinking. You should try it sometime. He winks. Tigers will say whatever they need to say to prop up their worldview. That's why I don't believe a word they say. Okay, Mr. Critical Thinker, what is it that you believe? I tease him with a challenging smile. I believe that our feral kin simply buggered off to somewhere where we aren't. I mean, look at me. He splays out his arms, inviting me to inspect his musculature, which I do quite eagerly, biting my lower lip. If you were a feral wolf, would you like to share your territory with me? A fair point. I laugh, and we continue to walk. Sharing a bed with you is bad enough. You keep hogging it. As it is my bed, I'm the one sharing it with you, strictly speaking. Strictly speaking, you're still hogging it. I feel Ranok's paw gently pressed at my chest as he brings us to a stop. Speaking of a hog. He creeps forward, locking his gaze on a small wild boar. I barely even noticed it rummaging beneath a small bush, oinking merrily in a feeding frenzy. I would make a shitty hunter. Stay quiet. The wolf crouches, taking up his bow. For a moment, I admire as his muscles tense when he nocks the arrow, but as I follow its shaft, eventually I see what the tip is aimed at. The pig remains none the wiser of its impending doom, and my heart begins to speed up. A gentle breeze ruffles the leaves, and I simply look at the treetops, mesmerized by their dance. Anything than to look at the wolf taking his shot. I half expect to hear the whistling of a flying arrow, but instead, there's just plenty of rustling in the greenery. Instinctively, I look in that direction, and to my relief, I see as the young boar darts away into safety, while Ranok relaxes his jaw with an annoyed expression. Damn it, we're downwind. I, for one, am glad for the hog. This entire misadventure puts me off from eating anyway. I mutter in discomfort as the wolf rushes towards the direction where the boar has fled, forcing me to follow. You have no idea how quickly those buggers reproduce. If not hunted, the boars would destroy the entire forest in a flash. Really? I ask with a clear hint of doubt in my voice. Yes, really. He replies sternly. They're extremely gluttonous. They destroy young saplings as well as damage trees by digging at their roots. Not to mention, they also prey on other smaller animals, sometimes removing entire species from the surroundings. Without real predators, it falls upon us to control the population and maintain the balance. His voice is filled with mild annoyance, most likely misplaced from his missed opportunity. Either way, it feels almost as if he's mansplaining things to me, and I frown. But how do you know if you're not overhunting? We know. He cuts me off, giving me one of those patronizing looks, but before I can challenge him again, he simply sighs at me. You're doing it again, questioning my way of life without having any real perspective. Damn it. Maybe I am a bit judgmental. But then again, how can I know any better? It's not like I've done any of this before. I doubt my dad took me hunting. To me, meat came from a packet on a nice shelf in a supermarket, clean and sterile. This, on the other hand, feels very personal, and perhaps that skewered perspective is what causes me to get so unsettled. Why would I even apply Earth standards to a world far removed from it? I sigh in defeat. I guess you're right. I'm not trying to be a dick. I say apologetically, resting my hand on his shoulder. I'm just questioning stuff, same as you. Trying that critical thinking of yours. I send him a teasing wink, and it draws a burst of laughter from the wolf's otherwise frowning muzzle. He shakes his head in amusement and invites me into a faster pace. We have rangers to keep tabs on the population of game within the forest. If they observe any drops, we simply focus different game. As in what? You hunt deer instead? Pretty much. He smiles at me, his expression softening from our previous exchange. This entire setup feels extremely foreign to me, but I'm glad to learn from him. I'm pretty sure I've never been hunting in my life. As we brave on through the foliage, I notice a very dense shrub busy with beautiful yellow flowers. They're evenly spread, speckled like stars across the entirety of the plant. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'm completely mesmerized by it. What is this? It's a touch-me-not. A touch-me-not? I give him a confused look, and he grins challengingly. Go ahead. Touch it. I'd rather not. I rub my hands uncomfortably, itching to do exactly as told, but also cautious of any potential mischief. You were fine filling me up and down, but you're afraid of a little shrub? Well, your name isn't Touch Me Not. It isn't Touch Me All You Like either. My mouth drops as I look at him in feigned offense. You're the one to talk. Come on, just do it. He laughs it off, elbowing me in the shoulder. I roll my eyes and approach the shrub, slowly extending my hand towards a single flower. My finger twitches as I'm fighting my instinctual reluctance. I'm not really sure what to expect. Finally, when I barely touch a single petal, the whole bloom explodes like a firecracker, sending seeds flying in all directions. What the? This causes a chain reaction and all the blossoms in the vicinity erupt, filling the air with flowers and seeds. At first, I'm startled, but then I look in amazement as hundreds of yellow petals slowly rain down upon me. The wolf laughs merrily as I brush off the fallout. Now you get it? Well, at least you don't go off like a bomb when touched. Ugh, I'm covered in seed. With the right touch, I could, and the end result would be the same. He winks at me suggestively as I try to remove the small kernels that have gotten into every nook and cranny of my dress. Oh, shut it. I immediately freeze, looking back at him in annoyed realization. You dick. It was a setup for yet another one of your one-liners. And you walked right into it. He laughs, and we walk deeper into the woods. It takes me a while to pick the seeds of the touch-me-not from between the folds, and yet still I feel strays hidden somewhere in an uncomfortable spot. Here, this time we're upwind. Ronok stops near another clearing, forcing us into a crouch. I can see the boar digging at what looks like a young tree. See that? They like young roots. They're juicy and full of nutrients. Nutrients this tree will no longer get. I squint, my eyes trying to see better. The pig made a large hole underneath the sapling, pretty much eating at the lush roots. That's enough to stunt a tree, if not outright kill it. With enough of them around, they could easily wipe out an entire new generation. Without new trees, the forest ages, and the older it gets, the harder it is for it to recover. I sigh, realizing that at the end of the day, he knows more than I do on the matter. Alright, I believe you. He actually convinced me, and I can see the little boar go with complete abandon at the roots. I never thought they'd eat that. Wanna give it a try? He looks at me, presenting me with the bow. I don't know. You said you wanted to learn. He smirks challengingly. Yes, but this. Kaelin, we eat the meat. We use the pelts. Even bones are used to fertilize our soil. Nothing's wasted. The hunt is just a way to honor the cycle of life. My gaze is locked on the bow for a while. I might understand now why they hunt, and even accept it as a necessary evil. But I don't think I'm ready to kill. Besides, how would I even go about it? I'm not an archer. I've never used a bow before. It's not that hard. You just draw, aim, and loose. You say that, but I'll guide you. He smiles almost pleadingly, his tail rustling among the fallen leaves of the forest floor. He seems really excited to teach me, and his ears perk up in anticipation of my answer. I did allow Vol to coerce me into sausage making. How was this any worse? And Ronok's almost begging like a puppy. Fuck. Fine. Attaboy! He ruffles my hair as we stand up. He passes me an arrow and I try to figure out how to align it. I mean, how hard could it be? I simply pull on the string trying to get the arrow to line up with the bow, but the wolf quickly steps in. No. Don't draw the bow unless you're about to shoot, otherwise you might misfire. Even I can't hold it nocked for long, and look at me. He flexes his muscles. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Here, let me. He moves behind me, his paws taking hold of my hips, and my eyes widen as I feel his chest press against my back. Stand sideways, let your upper body do part of the work for you. He turns me slightly to my left, his leg pushing mine wide apart, correcting my stance. Once he's satisfied with my pose, his paws move from my hips towards my arms, never breaking contact. He's filling me up, and I enjoy every moment of it. Hold the bow down, that's right. He croons near my ear as he readjusts my hand. Nock an arrow, let it rest just above your grip. That's right. I hear his hushed tone of content as I follow the instructions, my heart slowly pounding in my chest. Now set your eye on the target. His right paw ventures to my chin, softly guiding my head into position. Once you're ready, raise the bow, aligning the tip of the arrow with your aim. I take a few deep breaths, my heart racing at his proximity, or perhaps the fact that I'm about to kill something. Nope, it's definitely him. I practically feel the heat of his body, and his warm breath keeps caressing my neck. Relax. Easier said than done. I swallow heavily, trying not to get myself distracted by this intimacy. Keep your eyes on the prize, and go for it. I nod and try to draw the arrow, however my arms cannot pull the string far enough from this angle. I don't have the strength. I'll help you then. He moves closer, and now I'm completely enveloped by his fur and scent. I blush desperately as I feel the familiar poking at my butt. He's not hard, but the bulge itself is enough to send shivers down my spine. Just relax. You're not making it easy. Hush. He covers my hands with his paws, steadying my grip and aiding my draw. Let the motion of your body do most of the drawing for you. Okay. Ready? No? I mumble, and he nuzzles my cheek in encouragement. You can do it, alright? I nod nervously. We nock the bow, pulling it up in one seamless motion. Loose. With a sudden swoosh, I feel the arrow fly away from my face towards the boar. It hits the foliage just next to the hog, and the creature darts into the bushes unharmed. Nice shot. The wolf shakes me in excitement. I missed. I say in confusion, both glad that the beast's life was spared, and yet slightly disappointed at my failure. But only by a meter or two. Quite good for a rookie who never held a bow in his life. He winks at me, finally moving away. I know he did most of the work for me, but it's nice to hear a compliment, even if only partially deserved. I try not to look flustered and gaze at my index and middle fingers, both sporting a red bruise where the string sank into my skin. It hurts. I shake off my aching hand. Yeah, the string is a bit much on the paws. Some softer wolves have leather caps for their fingers, but I'm too much of a wolf to wear them. I roll my eyes teasingly. Who are you trying to impress? Certainly not my fingers. Fuck, it hurts. I squirm, seeing how deep the string has dug into my flesh. I feel radiating pain as if I was cut with a dull blade. You're such a delicate flower. He ruffles my hair again, walking towards where the boar was. I follow suit, pretty happy I didn't manage to land a hit. I might have humored the wolf, but I really didn't want to hurt anything. Here's your arrow. He passes it to me, but I just weave my hand. Nah, I'm fine, thanks. I want to still have use of my fingers today. Oh, do you now? He gives me a cheeky grin, obviously insinuating something. "Oh, get lost, you horn dog." I push him away with a nervous chuckle, and we continue our hunt. We follow the beast's tracks for 10 minutes, mostly in silence as to not reveal our position, but once my patience runs out, I look to him pleadingly. "Seriously, I think we're just wasting time now." "Quite agree," he says in a displeased tone. "We most likely spooked the little bugger. He's probably long gone." It's for the best. Even young, that boar was too big for just the two of us. I would only take the best cuts for us. We'd roast them for dinner and take leftovers with us, leaving the rest behind. I raise my brow at him. "I thought you said nothing's wasted." "Wasted?" He nods towards the canopy, and my eyes dart to the highest branches above, littered with an entire murder of crows. "What the?" "Our little friends are eager for a meal as well. When you live in the forest, you learn to share." When did they start following us?" "Since we left the village." He laughs. "But I never heard anything, not a single caw." "That's because they know we're on a hunt. They're quiet, so as not to spoil our chances at dinner, which is also their dinner." "Huh. Well, looky here." Ronok suddenly crouches to the ground, brushing his paw against tall, thick blades of grass that remind me of chives. "Scallions. That's a good find. Do you mind grabbing a few?" he asks, standing up and getting his bow ready. "Sure." I nod and kneel, slightly confused, while he scans the surroundings. "Just don't take all of them. Leave at least half so that they continue to proliferate," he utters in a hushed tone, while his muscles tense. "What are you doing?" "Shh." He shushes me, his ears clearly locked on a target in the distance, and his entire body freezes solid. His nose twitches again, and I could swear I saw his pupils dilate. He spotted something. Quietly, he pulls out an arrow and begins to nock it, causing me to pause. I even hold in my breath, noticing he has stopped his a moment earlier. Almost without warning, he draws and lets loose, allowing the arrow to swish into the distance. There's just a wet splat and a short squeal indicating he has found his mark in some small critter. As if on cue, the crows begin to cry, startling me a little. They're quite animated, almost as if cheering the successful hunter. I look at the impatient buggers dancing merrily on the branches above. What a strange life this is. So in tune with nature. Not in 1,000 years would I imagine this to be my afterlife. Certainly beats hanging out with robed dudes on a cloud, that's for sure. Realizing I'm tearing again, I dig up the scallions, waiting for Ronok to fetch his quarry. He returns with a small-sized bunny, hanging by its ears from his paw. Not exactly what I hoped for, but we'll make a fine meal nonetheless. "How did you know I was out there?" "I'm a wolf, aren't I?" "Granted, but it almost seemed as if you knew it was there beforehand." He points casually to the scallion patch. "Wherever there's wild vegetables, there's a small warden nearby. The rest is just instincts." "Come." He pats my shoulder, and I get up. "I think I've dragged you long enough through the woods. We'll have plenty of walking after food. Still some distance to cover." "Heh, I wasn't complaining." "But you're about to, I'm sure." He winks, and I simply follow. As we approach the campsite, Rannox's eyes drill into a patch of odd, fern-like looking shrub. "Rosemary, we're really having a lucky streak here. At least our stew won't have to be too dull." "Can you fetch a few stalks?" "Sure." I nod and rush off into the foliage. On a closer look, the plant resembles a very odd conifer, the stalks covered with needle-like leaves. The scent is familiar too. I snip a handful of the shoots and return to the wolf. "Will this be enough?" "It'll be plenty." He nods with a smile. Once at the camp, he wastes no time and begins preparing the fire. Not sure what to do, I just sit myself comfortably near the tent, looking as the wolf scurries about. Do you need any help? Nope, I've got this. He states with a proud tone, and I rest my chin in my palms. Have you ever skinned a rabbit? No. I mutter reluctantly. Do you want to give it a go? No. I shake my head and turn away, not willing to witness the horror show that's about to follow. As you wish, my lord. Ugh. I roll my eyes as he genuflects and plops down next to the fire. Not soon after, I hear the sickening crack of the bone, followed by the sound akin to the peeling of duct tape from a wall. I thought this was meant to be our getaway. So far, it feels like you're torturing me. Torturing you? Is it my fault that you're this squeamish? He laughs, rummaging through the backpack. I notice he still holds the rabbit skin, intent on stuffing it in there. What are you doing? The pelt's quite good. We'll get some coin for it. Thought we had plenty of coin. We do. He smiles, finding a free space to deposit the skin into. Waste not, want not. Something you seem to favor but oftentimes forget. I sigh in amusement and turn back to him. I'm still a little unnerved seeing the headless bunny with all his red muscles on full display, especially when Ranok's now sinking his blade into its belly to gut the thing. Again, I look away, only hearing as he's pulling out the innards, flicking them into the nearby bush. Immediately, the accompanying crows dive down and begin to squabble over their free meal. Once I hear him rinsing the meat, I know it's finally fine to look back. He cuts the rabbit into pieces and tosses them into the now bubbling pot. You like it runny or thick? I blink in confusion, still distracted by the fighting birds behind us. Their frenzied screeching echoes throughout the woods and makes it hard to think. The stew, do you like it runny or thick? Whichever you think is better. Considering we have no cream nor spice, a bit of body wouldn't hurt. Pass me one of the biscuits. Reluctantly, I reach into the backpack, hoping that the pelt isn't in contact with our provisions. Thankfully, Ranok's smarter than that. He must have put the pelt into the front pocket. I pass him the roll of bread and watch as he crumbles it in his paws, sprinkling over the pot. Once it dissolves, it should thicken it, just like the pie crust did yesterday. Pass me the scallions and rosemary. I do as he asks, and he simply dumps the rosemary while taking extra care with the scallions to remove any dirt. Then, with his knife, he cuts the scallions into nice, small pieces, drizzling them over the stew. When he's finished, he dusts off his paws and sits back to relax. I really hoped for a roast. You'd enjoy the ribs. I'm happy with the stew as well. They kind of became a fixture of our meals. Well, this one isn't going to be as good as the ones back home. All we had was water and biscuits to thicken it. But it should be richer than the one last night. The herbs should lift it up a little, but it's still going to be quite plain and boring, I'm afraid. As long as we're together, nothing's plain and boring. He snorts in amusement. Did I say something funny? Every day. But currently, I'm having a hard time deciphering whether you really enjoy my company or not. Hey, that's unfair. I enjoyed plenty. I protest. Even if he's teasing, I don't find it funny. He smirks at me, challengingly, leaning towards the pot and stirring the bubbling stew. It's the activities that sometimes are a hit or miss. Just like your aim. He winks, and we both erupt into laughter. We cannot stop for a while, and I have to give him props. He can make my day with just the simplest of things. Once we both calm down, he continues to stir the stew, taking discreet glances in my direction. I want to give you some exciting memories to revisit when you're back home, leading your comfortable human life. Whenever that'll be. I poke him teasingly, but this time, merriment seems to be lost on him. It might be sooner than you think, and should that day come, I want you to have an array of things to remember me by. Where is this coming from? I blink, but he just shakes his head. It's just something that's been bothering me recently. Life has gotten pretty hectic and unpredictable as of late. Should we part ways, I'd like to think you'd remember me. I would never forget you, Ranok. I reassure him, looking into his troubled eyes. Odd thing to say, especially considering your condition. He mutters seriously, and I sigh in slight defeat. True, but since my memory isn't getting any better, I don't think we need to worry about parting ways anytime soon. I reach my arm around him and pull the wolf into an embrace. He looks at me shocked at first, his eyes slightly glossy, but he musters a smile and leans into me. For the moment, I just want to follow our initial plan. And what plan might that be? To fill my empty mind with memories worth 1,000 of those I've lost. I'll drink to that, he says in a somewhat wavering tone, and to cheer him up, I reach out to our bags. I grab the wineskin and bring it close, removing the cap with my teeth. I take a deep gulp and pass it to Ranok, who simply nuzzles my cheek and does the same. Slanche. Slanche. With our bellies full and the mood improved by some quality time, the first leg of our journey comes easy. We joke and mess around to pass the time, and before I know it, we are already stopping for our first breather. Seeing the wolf in good spirits, I smile and lean onto his shoulder. The lower part of my body is slowly raising in revolt, plotting how to overthrow and murder the upper one, but all I can think of is how happy it makes me to be at his side. He passes me a piece of hard biscuit and some cheese, and we nibble idly, engaging in small talk, and before we know it, we're on the road again. The evening comes slowly enough to exhaust all of my earlier good spirits. The road became hard and my legs began to stumble early. Seeing my growing struggle, the wolf decides to break camp sooner than planned. At first I protest, but he reassures me that we've covered enough distance to justify it. Apparently we're halfway there, and I take some solace in this knowledge. I try my best to help with setting up the tent and digging up a fire pit, but in truth I am so spent that the wolf ends up doing most of the work anyway. Near the end, he simply unfurls the bedding and his cloak, cushioning a seat out of them, nestled into a tree trunk. I waste no time and make myself comfortable next to the fire. Today's trek was murder. Ugh, I just wish we had taken the soap, because now I smell like wet socks. I'm not sure what you're talking about. You smell fine to me. He takes an idle whiff around my neck, and I chuckle as he tickles me with his wet snout. But I draw the line once he crams it underneath my armpit. Okay, that's enough. I yell playfully, pushing his muzzle away, but he seems unfazed. You finally started to smell like you. It's an important thing for a wolf to get to know someone by their true, unadulterated scent. Ugh, as cute as it sounds, I'm afraid it'll get pretty unadulterated if I don't have a proper wash. I throw it in mockingly, causing him to shake his head. I think you're being too paranoid. I can differentiate between a stench and a smell. You just smell like someone who spent 2 days on the road. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that decent humans try to avoid. Who said you had to be the decent kind? He bops his brows tauntingly, and I cringe in embarrassment. I'm way too tired for smut talk, and thankfully he picks up on that, moving on with his train of thought. Well, you can always rub yourself with some greenery that tends to soften the scent of the sweat. Yeah, no, I don't see myself doing that either. I scoff, and the wolf finally crosses his arms. You're just making a lot of fuss over nothing. Wolves don't have such problems. Well, I'm not a wolf. Can't exactly lick myself clean, can I? I say in jest only to see a light bulb flash over his head and his eyes narrow intently. Lick, eh? If that's the problem you have, I can happily aid you. He pulls me in close, planting a long and seductive lick across my cheek. No, stop it! I laugh, pushing him away, but he only reinforces his hold and continues his impromptu feral bath. Ugh, now I really need to wash myself. I continue to chortle, and I can see his eyes narrow again just before his slobbery tongue flops right onto my face in another, this time more playful lick. There, clean like a whistle. Ronok! I groan, rubbing his drool off my face, when his challenging smirk gets my goat. Two can play at this game. I quickly plant my very own lick onto his cheek, to my immediate dismay. I try to spit out the handful of fur now stuck to my tongue, drawing a loud laugh from the wolf. I told you I shed easily. He grins toothily and stretches back, resting against a tree. Either way, I think we should make it an early night. The wolf mumbles before a long yawn escapes his muzzle. You seem pretty out of it today. Me? You're one too. Yeah. I pause, interrupted by my own deep inhale. Yeah, I'm too tired to tease and argue. Let's just have a good night's rest, eh? We have some distance to make up tomorrow. Sounds fine by me. I mutter, looking towards the tent with a troubled expression. It seems almost dumb to suggest it yet again, especially after we went through the trouble of setting it up, but the moment just doesn't feel right. And it feels quite warm outside, not counting the fire. Would you mind a repetition of yesterday? Sleeping next to the fire, resting against the tree, you made my seat here quite comfortable. The wolf looks at me with mild surprise, but quickly chuckles. You seem to be fond of sleeping rough. Had I known this, I wouldn't have bothered with the tent. You're the one lording me around. I laughed teasingly. I did tell you this whole setup felt a bit over the top, but you could have made do with just blankets. Yeah, you're saying that because the weather holds. Had it been raining, you'd be whining worse than an unweaned pup. I guess we'll never find out, will we? I snicker, but his gaze is locked into the sky above. It's another beautiful night, and we spend a moment or two just admiring it. No dinner, then? I'm too tired to be hungry, and the breakfast was quite filling. True. He snorts and closes his eyes. Sitting like this, embraced in the flames of warmth, I dare not to move a muscle. If I could, I'd simply merge with the tree behind us and become inanimate forever. Despite his earlier bravado, he also barely moves. With his eyes closed, it's even harder to tell if he hasn't fallen asleep already, but the idle flicks of his tail tip betrays he's still very much among us. He's pleased, and soon he expresses it tenderly. I'm glad you're this outdoorsy, truly. It's a part of my life I would have never given up. You're a wolf, I say quietly. One should never cage you inside four walls. Woods is where you belong. He croons softly and gives me a gentle nuzzle. He then readjusts himself, laying down on the ground and using my lap as a pillow. I smile, seeing his head nestled peacefully in my groin. He looks so cute and calm, gently drifting away judging by his slowing breath. Despite being equally tired, I struggle to surrender myself to the Sandman's magical dust, so I observe the wolf in silence. I feel truly happy and at peace. Everything is as it should be. The stray stars shimmer above us. The fire gently cracks, casting dancing shadows across the treetops. I don't know why, but a song comes to my mind, one I've heard during a life I've shed on the other side of this blue expanse. It's so fitting and in tune with my inner feelings that I decide to hum it. Seeing Ronok's expression brighten at the melody, I'm encouraged to sing it in a hushed voice. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. I gently pet his forehead and continue softly. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Instinctively, my eyes venture to the shimmering sky above. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear. Still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear. Just saying this. Sweet dream till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. I leaned in forward, gently pursing my lips against his forehead, almost like a wish away to make the lyrics ring true. Dream a little dream of me. I sigh out breathlessly. I really am in love with this wolf. I smile, taking in his peaceful muzzle. He's asleep now, visited by the, to me at least, elusive Sandman. Instead of sand, he brought me a man. Tell him his lonesome nights are over. I chuckle to myself and lean back against the tree trunk, my eyes venturing to the moon now slowly rising above the tree line. Aluna's visage is just a silver slither on her right-hand side. I nod towards the moon goddess and silently thank her for bringing me here, to him. Reborn in this strange new world, my life besides him is the best thing I could have wished for. And with that thought, I finally drift off to a peaceful rest. At first, it's a mild nuisance, a gentle swaying failing to stir me up from my sleep. But then it becomes more bothersome, with powerful rocking, as if I were in a boat on a stormy sea that finally forces me to open my eyes. Morning, sleepyhead. Ronok utters in a soft tone, quite ironic considering the harsh way in which he just woke me up. What time is it? I respond, lazily rubbing my eyes. To my surprise, I find myself laying in the tent again. He must have carried me inside somewhere in the middle of the night. I was pretty out of it. It's late, he says with a slightly troubled expression. I gave you an extra hour of sleep on account of our trek last night. You must have been exhausted. Yeah. I exhale, my voice carrying the burden of the previous day's march. My feet hurt like hell. I can't imagine doing this barefoot. I'm glad your little invention works as intended. He snickers, giving my shoes a quick glance. Here you go. Today's a cold breakfast. We didn't do all that well yesterday, so there's some catching up to do. Huh? I mutter sleepily, taking hold of a plump quiche he just passed me. We only covered 20 miles, just shy of 21. That sounds like 21 more miles than I would have liked. I can barely force any energy into my chuckle, biting down into the creamy pastry. Even served cold, Cora's quiches are delicious. The filling is rich, and it's clear she didn't spare on ingredients. So good. I mumble, chewing in pleasure. I don't feel all that rested, to be honest. I know. He responds apologetically. That's why I'm assuming from now on your stamina is only going to wane. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I flash my brows, taking another hungry bite. The wolf passes me the wineskin, from which I take a shallow sip to wash down the eggy pastry. How do you know how much distance we've covered anyway? I ask, as the wolf steps outside to start clearing up our camp. To me, it's just one long monotonous march. I call out. There are small milestones near the roadside. Depending on the direction you face, you have an abbreviated name carved into them, with the number of remaining stones between each of the destinations. We camp some distance after one bearing the SB41 inscription. There's 41 more miles to cover? I nearly choke on the food, coughing out whatever chunks went down the wrong pipe. Yep. If we cover at least 20 miles a day, we'll reach the city in 2 hops. Might be a day later than I would have liked, but still, you're doing well enough. No, I'm not. You said we were doing fine yesterday. I rub my lips in slight annoyance. I don't like when he sugarcoats things. I just wanted you to enjoy yourself. I'm not about to rush you like a pack mule. How many miles would you cover normally in a day? 35? It depends on my stride, really. So I am slowing you down. I mumble worriedly, and he shrugs uncomfortably. A little bit, but it'll be fine. I'm happy to have you here regardless, but it would be best if we didn't fall further behind. I thought we could get right to it today without any distractions. Yeah, we probably should. I mutter, continuing with my breakfast. Honestly, he should have said something yesterday instead of taking us on that hunting detour. Then again, I did enjoy the time we spent together, and probably would have worried needlessly and get discouraged if he did, slowing us down to a crawl. The little bits of light-hearted tomfoolery did bolster my failing spirits quite a bit. But now, knowing our predicament and how desperately the supplies are needed back home, I rush on with my breakfast. My mind keeps focused on Verissa and the difficult task she's facing with little to no medicine at hand, and that torturous knife of hers. Once in Strandbard, I'm going to find a replacement. I got 2 tokens after all. They've got to be worth something fancy. When I'm done with my food, I step outside and help pack the camp. We get quickly on the move, trying to catch up to whatever distance we've lost due to my tardiness. Just as he said, sometime after leaving our spot, we passed an SB40 marker. 40 miles doesn't sound that bad, and with this proposed pace, it's actually less distance per day than we did so far. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So, we had a little nice day today with Ronok. We were taken out hunting, although thankfully we were not, able to actually kill anything, much to Ranok's dismay. Although he did, end up catching a rabbit, so that was good, I suppose. It was a nice meal all around. And it was a nice little scene singing to Ronok. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that this trip to Strandbard is gonna continue to be all nice and good and, whatnot? All happy? I mean, I already know because I already recorded this and I'm doing the intros and outros after the fact. But yeah, so what are your thoughts so far? Write it down in the comment section. I personally like the song part, and it was unexpected, although given that we already had what was that song, the Wizard of Oz song, I'm not surprised that Kael keeps adding these type of little musical interludes. And yeah, and it's kind of nice that Ronok liked, he responded positively to the human singing to him. It wasn't like, ugh, what are you singing? But yeah. Well, comments, write them down. And yeah. So thank you all for watching / listening. If you'd like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, you can find it over on itch. As you know, I cannot link to itch links, especially Far Beyond the World, because it's the one that pretty much everyone got well, not a strike, but we got notices from YouTube that's oh, you can't be linking to that particular itch link. And so we all had to remove them from our videos. It was kind of annoying. But anyways, so you can actually find direct links to it though from the creator's Twitter page, Kael Tiger. I don't think that he has a Far Beyond the World Twitter, but he does have a link directly to it, the game, on his own personal Twitter. And he also has a Discord which you can join, and you can get early alerts to when he releases new stuff, or you can get alerts in case there's a delay or something, or you can discuss the visual novel with other people that are reading it there. And there's also merch in the form of 2 cell phone charms. Well, not 2, 3 cell phone charms. It's a Ronok, Vol, and Verissa, and they come as a package, I believe, because I mean that's how I bought them. And yeah, obviously I bought them. I buy a whole lot of the stuff from Paw Print Press. And I'm still waiting for my Ronok plush whenever it's gonna end up getting shipped. But yeah, anywho, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.